Hi, my name's Natasha Breen, and I'm a local children's book author from Humboldt County. This is one of my first books called Steve the Bigfoot Hunter. This book was based off an actual Bigfoot hunter named Steve. He's from Willow Creek and he owns a bookstore called Bigfoot Books. Now I'm gonna read it. We start this story in a small sunny town. There was nothing going on. There was no one around. Steve owned Bigfoot Books and was a curious cat. He daydreamed about this and he daydreamed about that. But the number one thing that was always on his mind was catching that giant monkey before the end of his prime. On such a wonderful day with no customers around, he thought it would be best to close his shop down. He put on his gear and got ready to go, all these years of hunting with nothing to show. But he hoped this time his luck would change, to prove them all wrong who thought he was strange. Into the redwood forest he went on his way. Steve had a feeling that this would be an unusual day. And sure enough, guess what he found? A giant-sized footprint right there on the ground. Steve taped up the scene to protect his rare find. He didn't want to lose it because it was one of a kind. But the footprint he found wasn't Bigfoot's at all. It belonged to another cat who was also really tall. It was only Paul Bunyan, wearing no socks, napping with his best friend, Babe, the blue ox. All of a sudden, Steve heard a loud sound as a tree came crashing down to the ground. He knew for a fact that Bigfoot it must be. Who else had the power to knock over a tree? Steve had his doubts and thought it might be an elk. Nope, just some green cats in a saucer, and not the kind that holds milk. Disappointed once again and tired of all this nonsense, he politely asked the aliens to stay on their side of the fence. As the day went on and was getting hotter, Steve stopped for a moment to fill up his water. He knew he was tired, but this was not a mistake. That had to be Bigfoot swimming out there in the lake. That's not Bigfoot. This animal has no fur. He should have known it was the Loch Ness Monster. It's just a dinosaur, Steve cried, jumping up and down. He wondered what it was doing, still hanging around. Starting to wonder why he'd even been born, Steve looked at his right and saw a unicorn. The unicorn asked, "What's wrong? Why so blue? Do you need a ride? How can I help you?" "It's this monkey," Steve replied, "who's known for his large feet." "I know where he is," said the unicorn. "Jump on and take a seat." Steve couldn't believe it, and he was really happy. He wanted to cry, but he thought that was sappy. His hopes were high, but the unicorn should have known. That wasn't Bigfoot either, just a large statue made of stone. "I'll never find him," Steve had finally confessed. "Now it's time I went home and got some much-needed rest." Then the statue suddenly fell, and there stood someone he knew. Steve shouted out loud, "I finally found you!" Bigfoot closed his eyes, sat down, and replied, "Now it's your turn to run off and hide." The end. If you like this book, you can go to Amazon.com and type in Steve the Bigfoot Hunter. Also, there's a link below.